Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most dramatic moments in history, Napoleon's epic final stand at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. This is the story of a man who conquered a continent, lost it all, and then rolled the dice one last time to reclaim his throne. It's a tale of ambition, betrayal, and a showdown that changed the world. So, grab a snack, get comfy, and let's jump right in. Picture this. It's February 1815, and Napoleon Bonaparte is stuck on a tiny island called Elba, just off the coast of Italy. He's gazing across the sea toward Europe, a continent he once ruled like a colossus. Just a year earlier, this guy controlled more of Europe than anyone since the Roman Empire. As France's emperor, he'd steamrolled nearly every nation in his path. But now? His empire is gone, shrunk down to a couple of rocky Mediterranean islands populated by goats and fishermen. Talk about a fall from grace. How did it come to this? Well, it took the combined might of every major European power, Britain, Austria, Prussia, Russia, you name it, plus a brutal assist from Mother Nature, to finally bring Napoleon down in the War of the Sixth Coalition. Rather than execute him and risk turning him into a martyr, the coalition decided to exile him to Elba. The plan was simple: stick him on this speck of land, cut him off from his people, and force a man with his ambition to watch helplessly as Europe moved on without him. Brutal, right? When Napoleon first arrived on Elba, he seemed to accept his fate. He started fixing up the island, maybe thinking he'd turn it into his own little paradise. But then, letters started trickling in from his supporters back in Europe. And these weren't just fan mail, they were bombshells. Turns out, Europe wasn't moving on as smoothly as the coalition hoped. The great powers had gathered at the Congress of Vienna to carve up the post-Napoleon world, but without their common enemy, they were bickering like kids fighting over the last slice of pizza. Everyone wanted a bigger piece of the pie, and old rivalries were flaring up. Meanwhile, back in France, things were even messier. The coalition had plopped a new king, Louis XVIII, on the throne, but this guy was a disaster. He was out of touch, reminding everyone why they ditched the monarchy in the first place. The French people were frustrated, and the soldiers, now unpaid and unemployed, started reminiscing about the glory days under Napoleon. Letters flooded into Elba, telling Napoleon that France was ripe for the taking. If he came back, the people would roll out the red carpet. So, one evening, as the sun sets over the Mediterranean, Napoleon makes up his mind. He's not done yet. He orders his ship, the Inconstant, to be prepped for action. On the night of February 26, 1815, under the cover of darkness, Napoleon and 1,000 of his most loyal soldiers slip away from Elba and set sail for France. The man Europe called the Corsican monster is back, and he's ready to shake things up. Word of Napoleon's escape hits the Congress of Vienna like a thunderbolt. On March 7, the head honcho, Metternich, gets woken up in the middle of the night with the news: Napoleon's gone. A chill runs down his spine. Within hours, he's rounded up Europe's leaders, and the room erupts into chaos. Everyone's pointing fingers. The British get blamed for not guarding Elba closely enough. The French are accused of slacking on Napoleon's allowance, which might have kept him content. On March 1, Napoleon steps onto French soil for the first time in 300 days. He's got a small band of loyalists, and he starts marching toward Paris. King Louis XVIII panics and sends the 5th Regiment to stop him, with orders to use lethal force if needed. The two forces meet just outside the town of Grenoble. Napoleon's guards tense up, weapons ready, as the king's soldiers block the road, rifles aimed at the man who once led them. Napoleon doesn't flinch. He steps forward, throws his arms wide, and shouts, "Here I am. Kill your emperor if you dare." The tension is thick. Both sides are frozen, fingers on triggers. Then, after what feels like forever, one soldier from the 5th lowers his rifle. Another follows. Then another. Suddenly, someone yells, "Long live the emperor!" The cry spreads like wildfire. The king's soldiers drop their weapons, rush toward Napoleon, and embrace his men. It's a full-on celebration right there on the road. Napoleon's rebel army grows as he marches on. Over the next 20 days, Louis sends 12,000 more soldiers to stop him, but every single one defects to Napoleon's side. The people of France are all in. As news of his return spreads, the Congress of Vienna realizes they've got to put their squabbles aside. They start planning a massive invasion of France for July 1st. In the meantime, two armies are already in place in Belgium, near the French border, to hold the line. The British, led by the Duke of Wellington, have a scrappy force of 92,000 Dutch, English, and German troops. The Prussians, under Marshal von Blücher, number about 121,000. Both commanders are battle-hardened veterans who faced Napoleon before. They know what's coming, and their job is to stall him long enough for the rest of Europe to mobilize. Back in France, Napoleon's not wasting time. He pulls together a new army of 124,000 men and gets wind of the Allied armies in Belgium. He's got two choices: hunker down and brace for the invasion, or go on the attack and take out the British and Prussians before they can team up. If he can knock them out, he might force the coalition into a peace deal that lets him keep his crown. Napoleon being Napoleon, he chooses to strike. Here's the plan: the British and Prussian armies are separate. If Napoleon moves fast, he can wedge his forces between them, cut off their communication, and take them down one at a time. But speed is everything. If he waits too long, Wellington and Blücher will link up, and their combined forces will outnumber him 2-1. So, on June 15th, Napoleon crosses into Belgium with his army, ready to catch his enemies off guard. And that's where we'll pause for now, folks. This is just the beginning of Napoleon's wild gamble at Waterloo. If you're loving this story, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of Napoleon's comeback so far. Stay tuned for part 2, where things get even crazier. See you next time.